Hey, so I'm going to be showing you guys how I retouched my cosplay photos since this is new on all of them, and I think it's a really good skill to have. Of course, you don't have to Photoshop anything if you don't want to, and there's no true need for it, but I personally like the look of it a lot, so I want to show you guys how I do this. So this is a completely unedited photo here, straight off the camera. I did crop it though, I think, for the sake of the video. So to start off, I'm going to start off changing the color of my eyes. But I do this because the color of the eyes will determine how I do some other. And I'm going to add a little bit of pink and some of this blue to give them that kind of violet color. I don't know the formal name for this tool, the spot healing tool. Now, in Pixlr, they have a lot of these tools too, I believe, which I always suggest going to for free photo editing. I used it for years until I was finally able to afford a subscription for Photoshop, so I highly suggest it. I try to make content that's accessible for everyone who makes all sorts of money, and you can do this in Pixlr. All the tools are named the same things, I'm pretty sure, too, so it should be pretty easy to find. Hopefully. I was actually having a breakout, but I did pretty good on the makeup, so we're gonna get really up close in this. It's a little weird to look at yourself this way. And I'm gonna go up to all these little spots and correct those. And if there's anything you don't like, you just hit Control Z and it comes right back. You can see that my makeup dried out a bunch right here. So that's another thing I'll be doing. Correct that makeup, because makeup can make if you have dry skin or something like that, it can actually make things look worse. Or you could see that my lipstick was starting to come off. I'm also somebody who bites my lips, so you could tell there's some marks there from that. So I'm gonna actually correct those because I really like a really nicely finished look to my photos. We will be creating a new layer after this. So I think that's as much as I want to do for correcting right now, because anything else might actually make it look kind of different. I like to keep a couple little freckles too, or like natural kind of like skin pigmentation. So this was a photo from before when I got a little bit better at makeup. Like I recently had a makeup lesson and it was absolutely life-changing. I would recommend to any cosplayer or a person who likes fashion or whatever that you get a makeup lesson. So you'd be surprised at the things that like a professional can do, can tell you. So we're gonna just duplicate this. Right click and then duplicate layer. You can do the same thing in Pixlr too. And then we're going to, on this layer, we're going to do all the skin correction and then we'll combine the layers if we like it. And the reason why we do this is because if you screw stuff up, you obviously don't want to be stuck with that. So I'm going to start off with going in with the blur tool. I just use it on default usually. If it's too much, I'll take down the strength a little, but 50% works for me. But we're just going to give everything a slight blur so it's really smooth to begin working with, obviously. And some areas I won't do it because I don't want it to blend too much. And this helps a lot with the dry makeup because you can tell I had a lot of bumps here from the dried out makeup. They're clearly just not as apparent anymore. This is something that obviously might not apply to every photo. Like for this one, I really like the shadows. But if you go to the, I gotta look up the formal name for this tool too. I always just call it the lollipop tool. Dodge tool. If you press Alt, you can also do the polar opposite of what the tool does, so you can make things darker. The dodge tool will actually make things a lot lighter. So with the current settings, you see how I can start filling that in there and it brightens the skin. I'll usually use that for 1/2 of the face. I like the shadowing in this one, but in some areas I might just do this until it blends with the rest of everything, which I don't think it's dark enough over here to do that with. But what I will use the dodge tool for is I always use it on the eyes because I love a bright eye. I think that looks so nice in photos. So I'm going to keep the shadows. I'm not going to use the dodge tool elsewhere, but on a lot of photo sets I have used it because it's too dark on one side of the face. So another thing that I like to do is go in with this paintbrush tool. And I find this a lot more effective than blur even because it's basically going to even out the skin tone. And if you hold down Alt, it'll turn to the eyedropper tool. My current settings have the opacity at 19%, so it's very sheer, it's very see-through, and everything else at default, and it's a smaller brush. So I'm going to hold down Alt under the lighter part under my eye. So I'm going to like hold it down and find one shade that I like, and then use it almost as I would in concealer. And I'm going to put that all under my eye, and it's not super noticeable, but you build it little by little, like you can notice it right under here, and it brightens things perfectly. Of course, I'm going to avoid this area because there's a shadow right there, and I don't want to make this look too fake, so I'm going to avoid natural shadows and such. And this is a lot more effective because it evens out skin tone, and it evens out, like, I get like marks under my eyes from all the like dry spots. This one still has the little bumps under the eyes here, and this one is completely smooth, which up close might look pretty corny and tacky, but you can see from afar it looks really nice. So obviously the same color doesn't work under this eye because there's a shadow here, and I like that shadow. It looks really cool. It would look really bad if I kept that same color. So I'm gonna Alt again, find the lighter color under here, which is actually kind of like a brownish pinkish, and use that under this eye. So a thing I love to do is just hide that second layer, and you can see it's really brightened around the eyes so far. And for me, I naturally have very tired looking eyes. Like, come on, I'm a computer science student. They're not going to look lively. So I really love how much this just like lifts everything and makes it look so much more fantasy, you know? So next up, what we're going to be doing is just doing what we did under the eyes, around the nostrils, because I get a lot of dry skin there, and there's some patchiness, and under the chin. So it's almost like we're doing makeup, but with tools. And we're really only going in between the three tools: the spot healing brush, dodge, and burn, and the paint tool. So I'm going to press Alt again, and I'm going to highlight that lighter color under here, and then I'm just going to run that through here. So you could see that some of my lipstick wore off here. So I'm going to do that same paintbrush tool. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to take the darker color that's right here, because this is the stuff that held up best, obviously, because if you're drinking and eating, the stuff in the middle is going to wear away. So I just fill that in. And I do that little by little. And this also helps me to cover up the fact that I'm a lip biter. I can't help it. When I get stressed or nervous, I do a ton. And I'm going to fill in some of the areas that came off around the edge of my lip. And then we're also going to do the same with our contour. So to do this with contour, this can also just work for like faking makeup on photos. There have been many photos that I've just put makeup onto myself for because I don't always have the energy for it. So I actually like a narrower contour, but it just wasn't showing that way in this photo. So I'm just going to draw a straight line up and down, do some on the side right here. And we're using a really light opacity and then just building it on. So like somewhere between 15 and 20%, whatever works for you. Because otherwise it will look like it was just brushed on in Photoshop, and we don't really want that. So I'm also going to take the darker color from this side and use that. Nope, that's too much. And then you see how that looks like I put on that contour myself. It doesn't look like it was necessarily photoshopped because I'm using the natural lighting coming from each side. And then we have our final product. You can tell it's a lot lighter, and I like that a lot, and it works for the character. It's a lot glowier. And also earlier, I can't compare it because before adding the second layer, I photoshopped out like acne and big spots, but it works quite well. There's the photo all together. And that's normally how I retouch the skin in my photos. I hope you guys enjoyed or found it helpful. I try to make Photoshop photos for cosplayers too, because I know nowadays it is really it is really social media, or like it's really on social media. Cosplay is really on social media. I know between, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Skin retouching is something too that's really big on social media. I'm definitely not somebody who's a fan of like snow kind of stuff where you go and you make your eyes really big, alter your jaw, whatever. But I do really love like basic skin retouching because there's some weeks that my acne is flaring up or things like that, and I really just want to be like a fantasy character still. And I think this really preserves the nature of cosplay when, like, we're humans with a lot of flaws. So, yeah, give this a thumbs up if you like this. Please subscribe. Check out my channel. I make a lot of cosplay content. Thank you for watching. Bye.